Welcome to this week's segment on Interview with an English Teacher. My name is Alex. I'm the founder of Phrase It and ESL With Purpose. And today I have Kim with us today. And so Kim, go ahead and introduce yourself and welcome to the show.
Okay, thank you. My name is Kim. I was a third and fourth grade teacher for 16 years. And then I found that I had a Chinese student in my classroom, and Mom would visit quite a bit, and she wanted me to continue teaching once their family returned to China. Along with Patrick, I picked up about 15 to 17 students. And in order to be effective for them, I mean, we were reading together, we were talking together, and I saw them grow in their English. But I thought, you know, the families are paying me, and I need to make this right. And so without any pre-planning on this part, I went back to school and got a CLD degree, and that's what I've been doing the last 3 years. And I love it so much more than being in a full classroom of children.
Yeah.
It's just much more rewarding. I feel that it has a lot more purpose to it. It's more important than some of the other things that we do in a regular day-to-day classroom.
Nice. And so Patrick is the name of the child that you taught first. Is that correct?
Yes. He was a fourth grader. University of Northern Colorado, they have teacher scholars that they bring over from China. And so the college professors will often bring a child over, not necessarily the husband, but a child. And the children tended to go toward the school I was teaching in. And at that time, they had 3 students. Patrick was still here for a few months. The other 2 students had already returned with their families.
Yeah. So you're able to help him with his English, and then that in turn
Absolutely.
turned into those network connections.
It did. And he was perhaps what you would call a typical Asian learner. As we think of them, there's a reason for that. The culture behind them is education will open up their life. It will provide everything. But yes, he was very curious. He wanted to learn about complex sentences. He would find them in books. He would say, "Oh, Miss Venegas, I found another Awuba sentence. It's right here, blah, la, 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 la." And now he's a 9th grader. And I visited China last year to meet many of my students. And I just had a wonderful time with my eyes wide open the entire time. Just a much different culture, but very, very exciting. I'm glad I was able to have that time. I don't know when I'll get that again.
Yeah. I remember my family and I visited China too to see some friends. And so it was an interesting journey. What did you see while you were there?
We started in the Northeast in Changchun, and we went to a volcano called Chiangmai. And on the other side of Chiangmai is North Korea. And then we started to work our way down. Lily went with us to Chengdu, and we saw the pandas there. And Chengdu is an amazing city. The food is interesting. The things that we saw. Lily and I took a walk into the tea garden and sat for hours while the older people played mahjong, and we saw like proposal letters or applications of families looking for a husband or for a wife for their son or daughter. She was even tickled by it, and she lives here. But Chengdu was amazing. It was just an amazing city. We traveled, I think, by train to Xi'an and to see the soldiers. Then we traveled to Nanjing. I have a couple of students in Nanjing. And then from there we went to Beijing and went to the Great Wall, of course, and had some dinners. But through the entire time, they took such good care of us. There was a connection that my teacher mom set up for us everywhere that we went. And so we never felt stymied by the language or what to do. And everyone, strangers, were kind and good and curious about us. They wanted to take pictures with us. But it was a great experience. And I'm hopeful to go back. We were supposed to go back in May, but perhaps another time.
Yeah. And going to China, the English teaching market is huge there. And so for English teachers, I mean, now, with like programs like VIP Kid and so many other online teaching programs, or even some families are just doing like one-on-one WeChat conversations or one-on-one, online tutoring that way too. So I think for teachers too, that's great opportunity to connect and meet families and help them with their educational needs. So
It
that's pretty
is.
cool.
It's really good. For a while, I had a few classes where we had 3 or 4 students, but we didn't notice the students growing. And if it was a group of boys or a group of girls, they would be silly together. And once parents decided, okay, we'll just do one-on-one, the children really started to grow and improve in their English. So, and you ask them, show me your kitchen or show me your bedroom, and they love it. They're so engaged. I think they feel pretty special to have, an American teacher.
Yeah, it helps. Um, so for you as a teacher, what gets you kind of fired up? What gets you excited to teach when you teach children or even adults in your background?
Um, I just see the purpose in it. I know that it makes, as a teacher, you always feel that you're making a difference. But there are things that we're asked to do as classroom teachers. For example, as in 4th grade, we would teach fractions for 2.5 months. That's a little long when you think about in your adult life how often you do not use fractions. And so it was very challenging to continue that. Whereas with teaching English, I know that it makes a difference. It's going to improve their lives. For my Chinese students, it's going to make a difference in what university they are able to go to. I can't promise them anything, but the continued practice of using their English is going to help them, achieve those scores. It's a very test-based culture. And if you score low in one area, it's going to prevent you from attending a particular university. But I think the same in the US. People are still going to come to the United States. And this is what they need. The best way to acclimate yourself to a new country, and especially the US, is to learn the language. If you learn the language, you're doubly blessed, because then you have your native language, you have the language of the country you are living in. People are not coming here to have a worse life. They're struggling and going through terrible things to have a better life. And these kids want to learn. I've had very few students, even at the elementary level, who don't want to learn. They think it's fun. It's a game for them, putting the pieces together and being brave. But it makes a difference for them.
Nice. Yeah, I know in China they have to pass the Gaokao, which is a big exam that they have to pass in order to get into a school of choice.
Absolutely.
So that's
and that starts early, even at the end of 6th grade. They will interview. Patrick interviewed for a better middle school, and the families will move to a new apartment in order to accommodate where that student will go. Then the 9th graders, they take a Zhongkao to get into a good high school, and it just continues. And the families that I've worked with, because I've had them for 3 to 4 years, I've seen them in a few different apartments as they allow their child to get another 10 minutes of sleep, due to the massive amount of homework and studying.
Oh yeah, I know they're up late, some of those kids.
They are, and they're up early in the morning. They're up at 5:45 and ready to go by 6:30. They're on the subway or on their bike, in the car. We've had lessons in the car when they're going from lesson to lesson after school. So
yeah, I wonder if that provides opportunity, like when you do English with them, if the English times, even though they're studying it, maybe there's some lightheartedness to it, that it gives them a little bit of a break from maybe their intense studies too at times, I wonder.
I think so, because I don't do homework. We try, and we're just reading and talking about words, and sometimes, same and different. That's really important for them. And yes, it's definitely light. Some families, they've had babies. Now that, things have changed a little bit, we've got baby brothers and baby sisters that we can bring on the camera and say hello. And so, they'll tell me, in 5 years, George will be your student. Okay.
That's cool.
So I think, because I've met most of them, I do have new students, but I've met most of them. We've had dinner together. So it's very fun. It's very fun. I feel like they are friends. They are welcome in my home. I am welcome in their home. It's a great thing. I'm so lucky. I never had any idea a few years
Yeah.
ago.
Well, I think that helps to cross cultures. That's what English does. If you want to be an English teacher, it gives you the opportunity to meet other cultures, and it helps you have better respect for people around the world, and learn from them, and they learn from you, and it's just really great.
Absolutely.
So, as far as like what you're doing now, it sounds like you're teaching online. Some of those students still, but do you teach or work with American students as well, or other students from other ethnic backgrounds besides
I
China?
do because I'm a full-time daytime teacher down in Greeley, and so I teach 3, 4, 5 during the daytime, and then my weekends I have a few hours Friday night, a few hours Saturday morning, for time change. Outside of that, no. Our students in Greeley right now are coming from Ethiopia. We have some new kinders from Ethiopia. We have students from Guatemala and Honduras and Mexico primarily. We have one family from Myanmar or Burma, and he's doing pretty well. He and sister are doing pretty well. It's taking the kinders a little time to open up, but if you listen very closely and you really ask them again, they'll talk.
Nice. So the dialects that you get to work with, or the languages, are Spanish, Ethiopian, and the other languages.
I'm not sure what the other language is. Probably Rohingya.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. From where they're coming from. Cool. That's pretty neat. So now, like, I know that you're on here too. You're going to share what you did, and I'm curious as well. Some of our people watching this show might be curious about Wham Phonics. I saw that. You mentioned it to me. I'm really curious. Tell me more about Wham Phonics and how it can help schools and teachers.
Okay. Well, I got this idea in my head, and this idea came from watching an interventionist come into my classroom when I had a regular classroom. They would pull my students out. They would say, oh, it's time for a PBA. So every 2 months or so, they would come in, do a PBA, a phonics benchmark assessment, and then they would take the paper back and they would file it away somewhere. And then 2 months later, they would come back. And this test would take about 10 to 15 minutes each time they pulled a student out. So if we didn't have the interventionist, that would be on the plate of a classroom teacher to do that. So you figure 10 to 15 minutes every 2 months, that's quite a bit of time. Teachers are already testing an enormous amount of time. Teachers, whatever capacity we're working in, we've lost a lot of teaching time due to not just state testing, but local testing, WIDA testing, of course, NWEA testing. Once in a while, they will get NAEP testing. They will get weekly assessments. They will get unit assessments. And nothing has really been done with the information that's gathered at that time. So the PBA just began to frustrate me, and I could see it kind of in my brain, like, okay, we could do this online. Almost everything is done online, and we're still doing this paper pencil test that takes too long. And so I could see it, and I tried to play with HTML and a little CSS, but I could not make it all work together. It was too much that wasn't working. And I discovered, I have a cousin in Norway, and she and her husband, they have 2 of the jobs that I really needed. He is a software engineer, and she has a business degree in marketing. She has an MBA.
Wonderful.
Just by, I don't know, not luck, not serendipity, I don't know what it was, but we just happened to reconnect, and I talked about this. She's very interested in entrepreneurship, and so we went from there. And so what it does, it allows a teacher to use their computer, use a mobile device, to go in. The test, I guess, is right there. All the student needs is a paper to look at to read the real words and nonsense words. I went back and forth about nonsense words because I know my ELL kids have a harder time trying to sound out a word and make meaning from it. But I kept reading and reading, and it said it was really necessary as they get into larger words. So we left the nonsense words in.
Can you give an example of one of those nonsense words? Sorry to interrupt. I was curious, like, when you say nonsense word for our listeners, what does that mean?
Yes. That means a word that plays by the rules of spelling and sounds. For example, moom is not a real word. but it should sound like room because it has the OO and the oo sound in the middle. You could take the word vault and take the T off the end, so you would have vol, and they should be able to read it as vol. Let's say like, let's try another one. Fune, F-U-N-E. So it's not a real word, but it plays by the rules of what a real word would do, like a silent E word or the AU sound, things like that. So those are nonsense words.
So it helps maybe with the speaking and pronunciation practice for students who are learning English, the nonsense words. So they're not really defined in English.
Like caution, as they get older, caution is C-A-U. If they've learned that AU is going to make the aw sound, then they're going to be able to read it. If I only work with real words for them, if it's not a real word inside, the pieces, the syllables of a word, it's not going to make sense for them either. They won't even be able to pronounce it, let alone see if they've heard it before. So that's a nonsense word.
Okay, no, that's a very helpful explanation, just because, we might say that term and other people may be like, what are you talking about?
I'm sure. I know, and I fussed with it. I was like, no, this isn't right, because they're trying to make meaning, and I want them to make meaning faster than sound out silly words. And lots of people do that in their head. They're debating still, and that's okay. I've chosen to leave it in because most PBAs do have some nonsense words in them that are paper pencil ones.
Right, and
so
PBA
nothing online. Sorry.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. PBA, can you explain that again one more time? PBA
Yes.
is phonics-based.
PBA is a phonics benchmark assessment.
Okay, gotcha.
And it just gives a benchmark or a baseline of where a kiddo is at. And so what you can do now with Wham is you can go on there, and teacher can have it on their phone, they can have it on an iPad or their computer. Student reads off of the list. We click once if it's green, we click twice if it's red and it's wrong. And the test will go through each of the, I don't know how to say this exactly. For example, it starts with the easiest words like Matt and Sam and kid, and moves as far down as into the 2-syllable words. Okay. And so we have to work with our controlled words. We have to work with the AUs, the OI, the OY, those funny ones. We have to know how to read EA together as a long sound, but also I consonant E as a long I sound. So SH, BL, all of those different elements, because I don't have the language for it. I was not a primary teacher. Most of the time, those were all taught before the kids came to me. So I don't want to say them wrong. I'll just say those word parts. And so now a teacher can do that. It will score it automatically. If you've got green, that child is good to go at 80%. If you have red, meaning that they were not proficient at 80%, they were less than 80%, either at 70, each word gets about 10%. And so then you can see from the graph that is inside the program, you can see, okay, this kiddo can do CVC words, they can do the SH and the CH and the ST words, but they can't do the R-controlled vowels. That's what we need to work on right now. I can go into the resources, I can look for an activity. The first one we put on there was a sort, and now we're adding like task cards like you would buy in Teachers Pay Teachers, so that the kids can have some fun. If the kids don't have any fun, they will hate learning. They have to have some fun. You engage the mind, you make them happy, and it sticks better. It's just a belief I have. Yeah. So there's activities, teacher can print it out, it can be ready out there. You know, the teacher could actually say, go pick up that thing that's on the printer, go get those pages, directions are on top, or teacher can cut them up quickly and prepare them ready to go the next day. It isn't. I have this paper pencil PBA and I don't know where it is. I have to look in the Google Drive for it. Now I have to go find some resources. I have to figure out when I'll be able to teach this, who's going to teach it. I'm not going to get it done. And when new teachers, I've noticed, come into a school, it doesn't matter if you're coming from a different district and you've had 15 years experience, or if you're a new teacher coming out of UNC. It looks like this. Here's your new phonics program. Read and teach it.
Wow.
And very often they're not getting professional development enough time to really understand. And
And
it
you
may
kind of,
not be targeted enough for a kid who's just missing their R controlled sounds. They don't want to go through va and ve and fa and fe and f. They don't want to do that. I think it's important they get right to the skill that they're missing.
yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, with my children, I got 4 kids at home, and some of them are learning online. And I know if you're a parent watching this, it's a struggle to get them to kind of focus sometimes. And
Very
even
much.
teachers who are teaching online, it's a struggle with some of those kids. I think what you provide is really helpful because Wham Phonics. So if I'm a teacher in the
Mhm.
classroom, I can just hop online, log in, and then just print something out as an assessment. Or you said the assessment, I can actually take it digitally with Wham Phonics. Like,
Yes, the only thing that you would need to print out, and I'll explain a little bit. You can go on, you can try a free trial just to see if you like the format that it's in. You can go to the resources, you print out a student page, give that to the student. You go to the teacher's page after you have set up a class, and you can only set up 3 students to start as a trial. Put those 3 students in, you can test them. It will not save your data because you're not a subscriber, but it will give you a feel for the programs. It will allow you to pull the first resource down and print that out. But yeah, it can be done very, very quickly. And that way, I felt like when the interventionist would come in and do this work and leave, I didn't really have a handle on it without me spending more time to go search it out. And I think the teachers need it right there so they can be intentional. No one wants to be forgetful. None of us want to let that student slide and just let them fall in the cracks. But right now, if you look across the nation and some of the numbers, the NAEP, the National Assessment of Educational Progress, we have 67% of 4th graders not reading at grade level.
wow.
That's kind of insane because we spend so much in education and we have all these good programs, but the target moves or the programs change and we have to keep moving. And now the stress in the classroom is we're going to teach everybody at grade level. Well, not every student comes in at grade level. And we understand they need exposure to grade level, but where are we going to find the time to get those underlying skills that they came without?
Right. And you're filling in kind of those learning gaps, just like as a teacher.
Exactly.
So Wham Phonics kind of then breaks that down in like a faster way. So like if
I believe so.
I'm a teacher, I'm like, I gotta assess all these kids and I don't have
Right.
time. This tool can help kind of
Absolutely. I
cut
mean,
down on time.
again, if a child only is struggling with R controlled vowels, but they can read the next ones and they can read all of the ones before, you have to fill that hole up. One of my principals once said, it's like whack-a-mole. And that's where kind of the Wham came from, is whack-a-mole, because you hit one thing and they learn that and then they forget something else. But we have to fill that up. We have to keep daily letting them practice with that. And there's a handy reminder that will email you and say, it's been 2 weeks. How about reassessing? Instead of, oh my gosh, 2 months went by. What do I do now?
Right.
And I never targeted that kid at all.
So you've got reminders built into Wham Phonics
Yes,
for teachers.
there's a 2 weeks reminder.
That is so helpful. I know, like when I've taught lessons, I'm like, in my past, I'm like scrambling, maybe at the last minute to put together a lesson. And I'm like, okay, we got to teach this concept because I've got to meet X goal here. And so that makes sense.
So that helps the teacher to remember and go, okay, I'll put that on a sticky note. I'll put it on my lesson plan or on my desk or on my piece of paper, and they'll get to it instead of, well, when are they going to do the PBAs again? They get the PBAs back, they look at them and they go, oh, they didn't grow. They didn't grow because they didn't get any targeted instruction on the 1 skill or 2 skills or 5 skills they needed. They got a general overview with a large, expensive program or some sort of hit or miss, but it wasn't targeted. And so this is short, it's fast, it's not expensive, and you get some free resources along the way because we want people to have resources that they don't have to go looking for and paying for.
Nice. So can let's say I'm a principal of a school district, or there are like groups of school districts or different school systems
Sure.
that could use a tool like this, do you guys have some kind of like program level payment that they do, or even just
We
for you?
haven't figured that out yet. We
Okay.
haven't figured that out. We will when the time comes. It's a tricky time right now because we can't get into buildings necessarily. It's hard to contact principals. I did send out my first 140 postcards to one grade level in 140 different schools today, letting them know just try it, give it a try, share it with your other people in the building. But yes, I mean, absolutely. I mean, Dibbles started. I was in a pilot program in 2002 when Dibbles was starting. You probably know Dibbles.
I'm not familiar. Can you tell me a little bit
Oh,
more about Dibbles?
Dibbles is a fluency. It's mostly fluency.
Okay.
It came out of the University of Oregon, and they also have some phonics elements like first sound fluency. Can you say the sounds in this word bat, at? Can you do those things? And then how many words a minute can you read?
Okay.
And at the time that it was a pilot down in Colorado Springs, it was a little paper booklet that we did, and we had to calculate over here and calculate over here. And now it's become a huge thing.
Okay. So
So
are words per minute one of the like common core standards that teachers have to follow now, or like does Wham Phonics, do they have to match some of the common core standards? And I mean, how does that all connect?
I would say neither of those two things. Wham is not set up to match the Common Core. Neither is Dibbles. I think I can't tell you who has set like in fourth grade, they want them to read at 103 words per minute at grade level material by the middle of the year in wintertime. For third grade, it's going to be about 15 words less. For second grade, another 15 words less than that. But it's kind of a benchmark. Again, there's that word of a benchmark of what does a grade level reader sound like? How fluent are they? How accurate are they? Can we help them? Yes, often similarly with repeated reading. If you read more, you learn more.
Yeah.
But if they can't read, they get frustrated and the behavior starts, and then you've got chaos.
Yeah.
And there's too many children that aren't reading. And a lot of them are our kids in poverty, and that's not okay.
No, I mean, especially with working parents, like having to, work really hard all day and they don't have time to teach their kids because they've got to put food on the table. So
Right.
that makes a lot of sense that they would
Right.
have to, that there are going to be some of those learning gaps. And I'm thankful that you're able to put something like this Wham Phonics together that can help teachers kind of, narrow down those gaps for each of those students without having to wait for someone else to enter the classroom. And that sounds like a big hassle to like get interrupted in the middle of maybe whatever other lesson you're teaching, and they're like, well, we got to pull this kid for that assessment quick, and then
and then they miss the 10 or 15 minutes of whatever you were teaching. It's it's the assessment. We're testing a lot. And we're teaching to tests often. That no one is going to be surprised if I say that. But we need to help some of these kids. We need to slow it down.
Yeah, and I think if you're able to get them to slow down, really understand that one concept really well before moving on to the next one, you've solidified that skill. So then they feel more confident when they are able to, tackle that next thing. And I'd just like to let other people know that Wham Phonics is a tool you can use as a teacher right now to help you with your students fill those learning gaps.
Yes. So and you can just play with it and see if it's something that you can use. I believe it's a powerful tool just because it's fast and you don't have to go looking for the results, and you can see, why can't this kiddo read? What are they missing? What can I provide for them? It seems very basic to me, but I don't know. We have a very few subscribers at this time, and that's okay, but they are very, very happy with what they're working with.
So if someone right now wants to get Wham Phonics to use for their classroom or help their students improve their learning, where would they go and what would they need to do to sign up for it?
They just go to whamphonics.com. If you type in Wham Phonics in the Google bar, it'll come up the first thing. You'll go in, you can sign up for free, or if you've decided that this is something you want already, I will tell you just up front, it's $15 for the year, up to 100 students. So if you were an ELA teacher in 4th or 5th grade and you happen to be doing all of the ELA students, you can put them all into one class and cover that.
That is super affordable in the US.
I believe so. That's like less than 3 cups of Starbucks. So it's very inexpensive because we want it to be useful.
Yeah.
We don't want to create something that is expensive. We want to create something that will help teachers out. Of course, it's going to help us. People start businesses to help themselves as well. But this is going to help our teachers and it's going to help our students, because the behaviors in classrooms are getting out of control. It's not just in the poverty districts. It's in all of the buildings. Not every single building, but it can happen anywhere. I came from a very middle-class neighborhood school down south. Since I've left, they've had to hire a dean for the kindergartners. That's scary. But mom and dad might be, like you said, they're working really hard, and so there's not that time.
Yeah.
So no, we
Wow.
we really just, and my cousin and her husband, they're pretty excited. They live far away, so they're 8 hours away, and time wise, they're very excited. They think this could be even something in other countries, not just in America.
Great.
But we
Well,
think it can be powerful and quick and affordable and benefits both teachers and students.
fantastic. Well, thanks so much, Kim, for sharing that with us. So if you heard her, go to whamphonics.com, sign up for free, test this thing out, see if you can use this phonics assessment for your learners, because I think it's going to help you as a teacher. And like Kim said, it sounds very affordable. So please check it out. I'll provide a link here below so you can go to Wham Phonics and learn more about that as well. So thank you again, Kim, for joining our show today. I really appreciate your time.
I appreciate you asking me, Alex. Thank you so much. See you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.